Whenever I talk, I always talk completely informal. And I think complete informality is very fit my broken English. So this is much better. So at the beginning, when I present, you see, some souvenir or gift, some mistake. I enjoy that. You see, too much formality. Even, you see, the difficult to breathing. That kind of sort of formality I don't like. We are human beings, same human being. Mentally, emotionally, physically. And wherever I go, I always feel like that. Yeah, same human being. Making differences. Consider some people are some important, some are not important. That's just our own mental creation. Basically, we are same. If we talk, or also the contract, on basic sort of same basic level as a human being, then there's hardly no cause for problem, for trouble. Respect each other, showing each other as a human brothers, sisters. Their suffering is our suffering. Their happiness, our happiness. That's the reality. So, in any way, now I'm very, very happy. Great honor is to come to this, also the important sort of conference. And also, me personally, now I think 52 years, almost 52 years, live in Dharamsala. So this is part of my own sort of area. So I'm great honor. And then also, last 53 years, or 52 years, 51, 1 year in Mussoorie. Then 1960 on, I live at Dharamsala. So 5 decades. 5 decades. There are a lot of development in this area. When I came first time, Dharamsala, Meghalaya, I think only 2 shops. One Neroji, another Kasaka, I mean, Shingibe, Buddharam. Now a lot of sort of, also the restaurants, a lot of sort of hotels also now coming. And the important is the education sort of the center. And here, particularly medical. It is very important. Everybody is concerned about their health. If health, some problem, and even mental function also may not carry properly. So physical health is very, very important. So your sort of job, your duty, taking care about health. So really very important, not only just a very important sort of work, but also I think a great sort of way to serve other people. The medical sort of service with warm-heartedness, with sense of sort of responsibility, sense of concern. Then your profession, your work, also one of the best spiritual sort of practice, helping others. Cure their sort of their problems, their pains. And in some cases, almost give them new life. So wonderful work. So in Tibet, we usually say some doctor, a physician, or such physician. Knowledge is concerned, very good, but heart not that warm. So therefore, his or her medicine may not be much effective. That those people, those doctors or physicians, may not be very high, top quality, but very warm-hearted sort of person. So their medicine is more effective. So your profession, right, very important. At the same time, genuine sense of concern of patient's well-being. Right. It's extremely important. My own experience, when I sort of get some sort of medical sort of treatment in hospital, and when the doctor shows human feeling, some smiles, some real sort of warm feeling, then I, as a patient, feel very happy. He or she must take fully, must take full care. If doctor or nurses come and go without smile, treated you almost like machine. Then sometimes patient may feel, I also sometimes feel, oh, that person may carry some experiment on me. So I think even curing illness, I think patient's spirit is very important. High spirit, full of hope, trust to physicians or nurses. Even recovery, I think much, much faster. So human mind is very, very important sort of element. So that I want to tell you. Then, of course, India. Most populated democratic country with a long history, this country, 5,000-year-old sort of history, and cultural aspect, and the philosophical aspect. This country, I think, most advanced sort of country or area. So 1,000-year-old India's the concept of ahimsa and religious harmony. Now, when we look different part of the world, a lot of violence, a lot of injustice, and many areas, they say, do not take sort of serious concern about others' life. Then, and also, you see the conflict in the name of religion. When we saw these things, then India's 1,000-year-old tradition of non-violence. Non-violence means respect others' sort of right, respect others' life. From that, non-violence idea come, not harming others, because you must respect. They also same like us. So the ahimsa, 1,000-year-old India's tradition ahimsa, is very much relevant to today's world. Then other field, religious harmony. Again, with different sort of religious tradition, sometimes fighting, killing. Even these days, now it happens. Now in India, of course, some pockets here and there, some problem due to religious sort of differences. That's understandable. Over 1 billion population, some mischievous people, that's always happen. But overall, India, 1,000 years, I think more than 2,000, 3,000 years, they decide homegrown religions. That's, I think, earliest sort of Indian sort of religion, Sangha philosophy, Sangha sort of tradition. Then from that, different sort of the non-Buddhist traditions, ancient time, then Buddhism, then Jainism, then later, of course, Sikhism. I think very clear, the Sikhism itself, very much non-sectarian sort of principle. The Guru Nanak himself, was the pilgrimage way, made pilgrimage to Mecca. So that's the India's culture. Respect all religious traditions. But because of that, they eventually, Zoroastrianism came, settled this country. Now these days, the Parsi community, very small. In Bombay, very small, less than 100,000. But no fear. Very happily sort of live there. And then all these, then of course Christianity, Islam, Judaism, all these different religions from outside India eventually come here. So India's, the tradition of religious harmony is really a wonderful thing. It's very relevant to today's world. Now you, Indian brothers, sisters, you should feel proud. So you have very long history, very rich cultural heritage. And then, in modern time, India, since 47, India become independence. Democracy in this country, deeply rooted, in spite of some sort of problems. The basic sort of democratic system, very, very stable. During emergency, during Indira Gandhiji, some people visited, at that time visited a little sort of anxiety. But after election, and the transfer, because they changed the government very smoothly. Maharaj come, no problem. Very, very smooth. That's the sign of democracy, deeply rooted in this country. Compare neighboring state. Very stable. So you should feel proud. Meantime, in technological field, modern, I think the British imperialists introduced education, I think because of the modern education, I think quite good. That's a good thing. On that ground, that basis or that ground, the Indian sort of knowledge in science, knowledge in sort of technology, is quite sort of high. Sometimes I usually, my talk, as I mentioned, very sort of completely sort of informal. So I may again repeat here. Sometimes, I think because of hot climate, sometimes a little bit because of laziness, if may I say so. Which weather also is quite lazy. One time I expressed that way. Later some people, I think this reporter, I think you mentioned, that is my sort of word. A little bit laziness. You see that, kasura, uncomfortable in the Indian eye, Indian ear. So then later, look, the Kasa Commonwealth game. A lot of sort of the problems happen. because of carelessness. Kasati, complacency, yes, complacency. So here, please, now you, many of you looks very young. So now, rich tradition, sort of rich philosophy as a backbone. Now with strong backbone, now your hand now must be very active, right? Must build this country. And now there are some nations now competing with India. So you must sort of work hard with full self-confidence. You have plenty of reasons to develop self-confidence and proud courage. That I want to tell you. Then, these days, basically, I consider myself as a messenger of Indian spirit or Indian thought. Wherever I go, I always talk ahimsa, which is harmony. That's India's tradition. So, I really acting like a messenger of Indian thought. Then, last 53 years, I live in this country. So major portion of my age, from 25, now nearly 77, I live in this country. So one time, I think a few years ago, one Chinese reporter, some group of Chinese reporter, mainly from overseas Chinese, one Chinese reporter asked me, why you are mentioning you consider yourself as a son of India? I think they felt this is political sort of reasons, right? And I told, my brain, every particle of my brain filled by knowledge of thought. Since my childhood, say, 6, 7 years old, I already start learning, mainly at that time, learning by heart. Those Buddhist philosophical sort of text in Sanskrit, later is translated into Tibetan. So we, like other sort of student, I start learning these by heart. Then, of course, later, different commentary, including Tibetan writing. So whole my life, study through that way. Still, I consider myself as a student of Buddhist philosophy. I'm still learning. So my brain, every part of my brain, filled by modern thought. That's Indian thought. Then my physical, at that time, about 50 years already. So I told, last 50 years, this physical survived by Indian dals, Indian rice, Indian chapati. So I describe myself, I consider myself as a son of India. That's the reason. Nothing else. That the Chinese reporter seems to understand. See, some reasons, not just a mere political sort of statement or something. So as a son of India, I really feel some serious concern about corruption. Last year, when I visit Rajasthan, Jodhpur, as usually in my talk, some student, one student, put one question to me. He's still studying. Later, when his real life starts, unless follow corruption, see, there's no way to survive. to succeed? And that kind of question to ask me. I was surprised. A student, even such young person's mind, corruption is almost like way of life. Without that, you cannot survive or you cannot succeed. Then within a few days, I was in Bombay. My friend, one businessman, one casual talk. He also mentioned, as a businessman, without corruption, you cannot succeed your business work. So these two was the occasion where I really felt that's very serious. Some other country who have not much sort of concern about moral principle, then corruption, understandable. But here, this country, generally speaking, very, very religious-minded nation. I think every Indian worship Shivaji, Krishna, and Ganesh, or Saraswati, so on, and Buddha. Sometimes I teasing my Indian friend, say in the front of some god statue, some incense and some flower, and recite some shloka, Sanskrit shloka, but without knowing the meaning. But that's the tradition. Every Indian family, I think, do that, some kind of puja. So if you really believe God, really believe Buddha or Shivaji, you must follow their path, or their guidance. I think no God, no goddess, no Buddha, Bodhisattva say, you should lead, and including corruption, or telling lie, or bully other, exploit other, do injustice, or killing other, stealing other. No God say that. No religion say that. All major religious traditions say truthful, honest, love, compassion. Even some problems happen, forgiveness. Never say hatred. You should practice hatred. You should practice violence. You should practice lie. No religious tradition say that. So, one way, you believe spirituality, worship, pray to God, goddess, almost every day. But then your real life, when you carry real life, no concern about corruption. That's quite a pity. Big contradiction. So I often is telling my Indian friend, only two choices. Either accept religion, accept God, worship God, pray to God, lead your life honest, truthful, compassionate. Or worship money, forget God, worship money, and all sorts of dirty things carry without hesitation. Only two choices. If you worship money and lead sort of corrupted life, when you get older and older, you really feel great regret. And your name also may not be a nice name. In your friends or your neighbors, such person, corrupted person, very bad person. When I think that person die, I think everybody feel happy. Now that person now no longer here. Very good. Just a few days ago, I met one Cuban, one refugee from Cuba, I think 59 or something like that. So very religious-minded. So he told me he always pray to God, please bring these sort of dictators in his country, please bring to heaven as soon as possible. This looks nice, isn't it? He dislikes dictators. But at the same time, you should respect their own sort of good future. So pray to God, please bring to heaven. I think very nice. So in any way, this nation, beside these sort of base, actually, ahimsa, non-violence, corruption, also form of violence. You truly believe ahimsa, then your life should be honest, should be truthful. So, if you carry this honest life, truthful life, your work can be transparent. That brings respect, trust from your community, from concerned people. Then you get genuinely trusted friend comes. If you carry some hypocritical way, something hide, telling something different, a hypocritical way, and corruptions, then the very basis of friendship, that's trust, that destroy. So the individual will not be a happy person. More honest way, life, whole your life will be much happier, full of self-confidence, no basis of, no ground of fear. All the time, your mind calm, happy. So now here, the preventive summary. Preventive, just a book. Okay?
Preventive and social medicine.
Preventive. I think even for physical health, one very important, effective sort of way prevent illness or getting aging. What's it? I think aging. Huh? I think calm mind. Calm mind very much based on warm-heartedness. So that mental state really important sort of method for preventive illness. Even some problems there with full of sort of self-confidence, calm mind, recover very fast. That much, my own experience, I can tell you like that. So, healthy body, healthy mind. These always go together. Just taking care of your body, taking medicine, with full of anxiety, full of anger, full of suspicion in your mind, very difficult. So you, although you're directly concerned about physical health, but in the meantime, as I mentioned earlier, when you sort of the treatment, the patient, you can practice warm-heartedness. And they also, you see, there's possibility, the patient who spend more time in more longer period in hospital, they may also gain some experience, the value of warm-heartedness. So that much I want to tell you. So with these India's sort of basic sort of kasoda, strength or sound sort of kasoda, or sound sort of values, then hard work, or catching the modernity in every field. So India can be, I think, ancient time, I think, like I think Buddhism, started this country, reached almost the whole Asia. So, in future, in modern field also, see, you, Indian, can make significant contribution on this planet. So that I want to tell you. So please, then these young people, young Indian, through your hard work and also utilize your sort of the great potential of your brain and potential of your heart, I think within this century, later part of this century, I think firstly, India itself, internally, much developed, externally, much developed, can be, I think, good model of the rest of the world. Although I am now already late 70s, I may not see that. I often used to telling, when I talk to some student in America and some other places, I usually telling them, those young people, you are the generation of 21st century. I am generation of, and you also, I think, almost the generation who belongs to 20th century. So we are now almost ready to say bye-bye. But you, below 30, 20, 15, you are really belongs to the 21st century. So later part of 21st century, I think some sort of positive result from your hard work with wisdom, with vision, healthy vision, you really can enjoy, you see, that good result. We may not see that, but I often is telling those young students, I may even from hell or from heaven, I may watch you whether you are implementing properly or not. So, we, generation who belongs to, I think here also you see, my companions who belongs to 20th century. So we together watch what these young people who belongs to the 1st century doing. So we'll watch you. If you do not carry properly, then some way we're going to punish you. Thank you. Thank you.
Is forgiveness more important or punishment? Lastly, Your Holiness, you had mentioned that I'll punish you, or the peer group, including myself, will be watching from top and will punish the youngsters who do not perform their duty. My question is, sir, is forgiveness more important or punishing?
punishing the
punishment forgiveness ni
forgiveness means, in spite some wrong doing, you should not keep ill feeling. Instead, you see, you should feel genuine sense of concern of those people who are doing wrong things. So then, That is forgiveness practice. Meantime, from genuine sense of concern of their well-being, their future, some appropriate punishment out of sense of concern is very positive action. So no contradiction. Clear? Next question?
Sir,
Now, for example, you see, we, in our own case, you see, even though some Chinese, you see, they on the spot, really, you see, they ordering punish Tibetan, torture Tibetan. We deliberately visualize these people and develop sense of concern of their own future. Of course, from the sort of what's the from spirituality, the concept of karma. Those people who actually doing accumulating negative karma. So sooner or later, they have to face this negative consequences. So you see, thinking these lines, we develop sense of concern, sense of compassion, sense of love. And out of that, you see, that the action level, we are opposing their wrongdoing. But mentally, really, emotionally, we really deliberately keep compassion towards these people. So that's no contradiction. Forgiveness, practice of forgiveness, and practice of opposing, no contradiction.
sir, I am
That also, actually, your philosophy, I always consider Indians as our guru. We Tibetan are Chela. I often sit telling my license officer, whenever I greeting him, I describe him as a Guruji. Historically, you are our guru. As I mentioned earlier, since 7th century, 8th century, we carry, study, practice Indian spirituality, Indian philosophy. So actually these things are your philosophical view. So it is quite pity. Guru, Indian guru, asked me Indian Chela. Next question, yes.
Yes, sir. Sir, I am Dr. Rajesh.
Khadro.
Here,
Yes.
Faculty member of this institution. It is an overwhelming experience to listen to you in our own institution. People come from world across to visit you at McLeodganj. And today I have the opportunity to listen to you in my institution. Thank you. My question is that a person who is not a believer and who is not a disbeliever also, like suppose I claim to be a medical teacher who keeps his knowledge updated, who is punctual, who is regular, who is honest, who feels a surge of sympathy on seeing a suffering person, and does his duty conscientiously, will he be further helped by a recourse to spirituality? Or is honesty, punctuality, and sympathy towards mankind enough in itself?
Great question. Not very clear.
장부지어야 돼. 민족지 펜도지어야 돼. 장부지어야 돼. 그래서 디도리 펜도지 도를 했으니 그래서 다들 장부지 뭐지 지단에 맨 지구 당지 그런데 나한테 맨 기도리 어떻게 해야 돼. 지구지 당 그래 말해야 돼. 장부지면 아주 멘도해지 지도를.
Not very clear.
Not very clear.
Oh.
I say, sir, I do everything
Yes.
which is required of a good human being,
Yes.
honestly, with compassion, and not ignoring or neglecting my duties.
Yes.
And I am at peace with myself. Will I be further helped if I take recourse to spirituality in rendering my duties? Will it lead to my mental enhancement?
Yes, as a medical profession, right? Your sort of direct sort of responsibility, of course, through through your own profession, sort of, or kind of the knowledge, and helping them. At the meantime, as I mentioned earlier, you should carry these sort of service, not just a duty or due to salary or like that, or even fame, not thinking that way, but genuine sense of concern of well-being the patient. So already some kind of spirituality already there. But spirituality, there are different levels. One level, without sort of talking about God or karma. Or karma, I don't know. Karma means action. Sanskrit word, action. So any physical action, verbal action, mental action, whether become positive or negative, ultimately depend on motivation. With sincere motivation, the physical action, verbal action, mental action, all become virtuous, right? Positive. So I think now here, I think you also mentioned, I think, non-believer.
No.
So actually, I think I think you mentioned about my 3 commitment. The number 1, my commitment is promotion of human value. Now here, I usually, you see, make clear secular ethics. Secularism, according to Indian sort of understanding, secularism does not mean disrespect to religion, but rather respect to all religions. No preference, this religion, that religion. And also and also respect non-believer. One time, Advani, I had some sort of casual sort of talk, and he also, he mentioned the 1,000-year-old, one of Indian tradition is, he mentioned Charvaka, one philosophical school of thought, Charvaka, denying God or Dharma, simply existing sort of reality. So the rest of Indian sort of spiritual sort of thinkers always criticize that view, but at the same time refer these Charvaka sort of philosopher, refer Rishi. Rishi means sage. So that's the clear sign of respect. Their view argue or criticize, but person who hold that view respect. So the 1,000-year-old in this country respect non-believer also. So now here, I believe now over 7 billion human beings, quite a big portion, actually not much serious about spirituality. These also, human beings, they also, you see, want happy life. But they, once you see, they deny God or religion, they also completely neglect about inner value. Okay, you remain non-believer, even criticize religion, even against religion, okay. But for your personal interest, these moral ethics, moral principle, is for your own well-being. Usually, you see, people have the impression, the concept of love, compassion, forgiveness, that's a religious practice, part of religious thing. So when people who have no interest about religion, they also no interest about practice of love and compassion. That's a mistake. So I think one level of spirituality is remain honest, truthful, compassionate. At the same time remain non-believer. Okay. Then the second level is further develop sort of practice of compassion, forgiveness, these things, with philosophical sort of reasons. Then, at some level, religion come. Religion also, in religious because of the field also, theistic religion, accept God, creator, absolute. Then non-theistic religion, like Jainism and Buddhism, no concept of God, no concept of creator, but everything due to one's own action, karma. So Buddhism, mainly Buddhism and Jainism, strictly speaking, some kind of non-believer, but believe higher value, deeper value. So in the religious sort of field, two categories. Theistic religion, non-theistic, both emphasize importance of practice of love, compassion, forgiveness, all these things. So philosophical view, philosophical field, big differences. But all these different philosophy, same purpose, to strengthening, to promoting these.
His Holiness, Tashidile,
Tishdale,
I'm
do
associate.
you know what is the meaning
Yes.
of Tishdale?
Yes,
Do you know the meaning?
yes, I know
Oh,
that.
then okay. Otherwise, as I mentioned earlier, Kasuda, speak that word, but without knowing the meaning. Okay.
I'm Associate Professor Shubhra Gupta from Government College, Shapur. My question is, body is independent, so is mind. When physical body perishes, does mind also perish along with the body? If not, where does it go?
I think in this country, last, almost, 4,000, or at least 3,000 years, you see, investigate about this sort of subject. So, different tradition, you see, find the answer different way. Right? Now, here, of course, those people who believe, you see, God, Creator, and they're very simple. You see, this very life created by God. In the end, your spirit, something like remain dromedary. To shashvats. And then final judgment, either go hell or heaven. That's one thing. Then those Indian religion, including Sangha, and all sort of the ancient Indians of thought, some of them, although you see believe Brahma, Mahabrahma, creator, but also you see believe and accept the life after life. So karma theory also involved. Then Jainism and Buddhism, similar. Then Buddhism and Jainism, as I mentioned earlier, no creator. Our life, no beginning, no end. And there are some different sort of views. So now the basis of after death, what happened? Now, except Buddhism, all ancient Indian religion believe Atma is something independent, sort of soul, right, being. So that Atma goes, although the physical function ceases. And with this physical, the certain sort of mind, certain level of mind also ceases. Then Atma still there. Then Buddhism does not sort of believe the Atma as such, permanent, oneness, unchanging. That kind of self, Buddhists do not accept. So Buddhist philosophy say anatma theory. Now question is, what is self? That is the combination of body and mind. Generally, body and mind, a combination of these two things, and then the concept of self, designated. When we say body and mind, there are also many different levels. Grosser level of body, grosser level of mind, like dream body, more subtler body. So similarly, there are different levels of body and mind. So at the time of death, as soon as the heart sort of beat stop, blood circulation stop. So within short period, the brain function cease. So clinically, dead. That does not mean the subtle level of body and mind cease. No. Something sort of, one sort of such a rough example like mental state, including the sensorial thing. When we are dreaming, the sensorial consciousness no longer function, but still more subtler level of mind still functioning. At some cases, even without practice, or without training, some, I think due to their previous karma or something, the dream body actually can depart from this grosser level of body. I also receive few occasions I met such person. So here is one subtler, more subtler body and with subtler mind. So now, the deepest mind, after sort of brain function cease, clinically dead. But now already, last 50 years, I think at least 20, 30 cases who after death physically remain very, very fresh. And that remain 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Now modern scientists, no answer. Scientifically, so far, no answer. So some scientists, now as a result of our 30 years sort of dialogue or discussion with modern scientists, now, since recent years, some scientists now showing interest how it happened. Clinically dead, but body remain very fresh. What is the factor? So already you see carrying some investigation like that. So perhaps next 10 years, 20 years, may find some scientific sort of explanation. So in any way, it is fact. So from Buddhist sort of explanation is the grosser level of mind completely cease. That's death. Right? That's death. That does not mean the subtle mind also cease. No, subtle mind there. So that is from this body go that subtle, very, very subtle mind go the sort of new next sort of destination. Then eventually conceptual. Conceptual. At the time of conception. So that's the Buddhist sort of philosophical sort of explanation. And also I think they, when people give name Atma, but essentially that is the substance. Whether you call Atma or the subtle combination of subtle mind and body, and mainly the subtle mind. So that's way. So that we call the real sort of identity of self, of being, sentient being is that. Clear? Next question.
Sir, first of all, my sincere regards to you, sir.
Oh yes, thank you, thank you. Oh,
His
yeah,
Holiness, I am Pradeep Khanna. I am teaching community medicine in the state of Haryana in our country. During your discourse, sir, you mentioned honesty. You would bail me out that every one of us would claim to be honest, but we have our own definitions for honesty. We describe the way it suits our convenience. At your wisdom, I would like to know what is the practical, possible definition of honesty these days?
I think these sort of ethical, moral principle, moral ethics. I think human mind, as you mentioned, very, very sophisticated mind. So we utilize our intelligence, so we create different interpretation. But I think more honest when we deal with cats, dogs, you really showing genuine sincerity and love, a sense of concern. Dogs, cats appreciate. That's honesty, right? If you sort of different motivation try to catch or something and give food, they know. They may accept the food, but then run away. So I think genuine honest, even animals sort of appreciate. So educated, uneducated, wealthier or poor, everybody, common things showing genuine, truthful, honest. Right. I think mainly it's truthful. That also, I think, mental function. Indian sort of the Indian tradition about mind. The Pali tradition also mentioned a lot of sort of the information about mind or emotion, thought. Particularly the Nalanda Sanskrit tradition, extremely rich. So the mental, like a chemical, one flower, there are thousands, millions of different chemicals together, then different color, different shape, different sort of longevity, life, all these smells, all these not come from one sort of entity or one particle. Thousands different sort of particles combined, then you see these different things that happen. Similarly, our mind, like honesty, also you see related with many other mental functions. So in any way, I think generally speaking, truthful, transparent, that also very much related with respect other. If you have genuine respect other, genuine concern, then no room to bully, no room to cheat, no room to tell lie. So the ultimate sort of basis or source of honest is genuine love and compassion. Now here love, the biological factor, one level of love is a biological factor. Like dog's mother, you see some certain kind of love towards their own youngster. That's mainly biological. That's biased. That's limited. And very much oriented others' attitude. When I talk love and compassion, is unbiased. So that genuine unbiased love and compassion extend your enemy, as I mentioned earlier. Enemy's action is concerned, negative, we have to oppose. But the being itself, still a human being, still a sentient being, must respect, must sort of develop sense of concern of their well-being. So that's unbiased love, infinite love, not oriented their attitude, but their being itself, right? Self or being self. So I think honest, so I think generally speaking, any action which brings trust, which brings comfortable in others' mind, that's I think honest, can be said. Anything which develops suspicion or uncomfortable. So in any way, these sort of mental level, we have to sort of we have to judge its own some kind of its own sort of world. This mind, this thought, related with other thought, previous thought,
which is simultaneous with it.
So one thought, whether positive or negative, we have to judge the previous continuation of that thought and the similar factors at the same time. So we have to judge about sort of moral ethics with fuller knowledge about map of emotions, map of thought, like that. Then next question. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I am Dr. Heather from Ranchi, Jharkhand. Yeah. My question, His Holiness, is that it is human behavior that we are not contented with whatever we have achieved in our life, leading to encroaching others' rights and disharmony in society. What is your advice to remain contented and bring peace and harmony in societies?
I think I would like to answer you see, that question on the level of secular ethics. Right? Use our intelligence, the material value. In any way, there is limitation. Even you owned whole world, firstly whole India, then eventually whole Asia, then eventually whole world, but still you may not content. You want to own moon or Mars. It's impossible. There's a story, in ancient sort of Indian story, one sort of king, you see, he already sort of conquered I think Bharat, I think many parts. Then still, you see, he want more. That kind of story is there. So in reality, in any case, there is limitation. In that field, much comfortable, practice content. Because in any way, you keep greed, want more. Sooner or later, you will face disappointment. Clear, certain. Now, mental sort of values, no limitation. Like physical, sort of the physical thing, like sports, right? Singings, there's limitation. Mental quality, training, the 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, still you gain more knowledge, more knowledge. No limitation. So things which related with mind, no limitation. Now, more greed in that field, want to more develop, want to more sort of advance. So, the reality itself, where in any way there's limitation, in that field, better content. The field where no limitation, then should not content. Discontent, very relevant, right? Like that. So usually we just opposite. Spiritual, mental development, we contented. Not much interest, isn't it? The material value, there is a limitation, but we want more and more and more and more. And finally, more disappointment. And only sort of desire, greed. Now, some, you see, my friend, the economist. So a few years ago, you see, when the global economic crisis start, out of my curiosity, I asked some of my friends, some big businessmen, sort of men, I asked, you, even in dream, always thinking about money, money, money. You are truly expert. But then, nobody wants this kind of the economic crisis. But ultimately, your own creation. What is the real causes of that? Out of my curiosity, I asked. Then they say, too much greed. Simply greed, without sort of seeing long-term consequences. That's ignorance. Then also, you see, speculation, without sort of something very certain, but simply according to your wish, you see, create certain sort of situation, speculation. So the economic crisis also related with discontentment, not proper sort of knowledge of the reality. Simply, I want more, I want more. So, because of that, contentment. So contentment, I think realistic sort of thinking, realistic approach. This much I can get, do it. Then, now okay, I have sufficient things, now okay. Person who have that kind of mental attitude, and a person who always want more and more and more, I think mental state, the other person who have some contentment, much more calm mind, much more calm than the other one. Sometimes it's my friend, again it's a business, so I sometimes teasing them, you are slave of money. Just thinking money, and they sacrifice their own time, because of their whole time. One time I noticed, there's one Russian, many years ago, in Moscow, one Russian business. See, he told me he have to go Los Angeles that same day, and spend a few hours in Los Angeles, then immediately return to Moscow. I felt such a long trip, and spend for a few hours, and then long trip, return. I thought there's clear sign of slave for money. Like that. You see, the wrong view here. Oh, some profit, then they, through illusion, real illusion, they feel, oh, now I got this much money, this much money. Actually, what benefit? Physically or mentally? Nothing. I think contentment in such field, yes, I think. But here, individual level, contentment, very relevant. But national level should not feel that way. Discontent. For example, here, most populated, most populated democratic nation, India should develop. Now, millions and millions of poor Indians. I think a few days ago, I heard through BBC, in India, through medical university program, the polio, almost now eradicated. That's really a wonderful achievement. Just similarly, I think many fields, particularly in the rural area, I think medical facilities still very poor. And also the farming, agriculture, technology in these fields, I think still India needs a lot of sort of development. So the national interest, not selfish Indian, but concern about whole world. India is a healthy nation. So you must sort of develop so that you can help more people. So Indian, I think, should think more wider way. Should not concentrate on your own area. So one of my experiences, I participated number of sort of the occasion of some meeting. I got the impression there very few who speak with greater vision about world. Quite few. Only think your own area. So now you must look all those great Indian masters. They always talk entire sentient being. So you must think that way. Must develop great vision, like Mahatma Gandhi ji and Nelson Mandela. I think they are they start the concept of ahimsa and implementation, not only for their own nation, but humanity. So you should think wider way. I think you have potential to make significant contribution on this for the well-being of the humanity. Good, thank you.
One last question, please.
Your Holiness, I was born in Dharamshala the year you came to Dharamshala.
Oh, really?
And,
Oh.
yeah. And I always thought
Quite lucky then.
So I always thought that I grew up with your thoughts, and now I work in PGI Chandigarh, and the motto there is Arth Seva Sarvbhadra Shodhascha, meaning that service of the poor and education and research for the good of humanity. Recently I went to Bhutan, and my question is that there you have an indicator, the gross national happiness. In Bhutan, the indicator of health and of economy is gross national happiness. Would you like to suggest this indicator to our policymakers who are just sitting next to you today to become the same indicator for India?
Yes, that's good. But you see, they very easy to say that. But real development, real materializes such sort of state, right? Such sort of community, lot of works need education, mainly education. Now this year, I think some Delhi University now with sort of full with Kasota. Full cooperation. I think full cooperation. Or we already, you see, doing some research work, how to introduce in modern education system about the secular ethics. So last several years, I always see expressing that, and also many educationists in America, in Europe, and also many scientists really sort of realize the existing modern education system is something lacking about, you see, shaping our emotion or mind. We usually, these things, you see, relying on religions. Now that now shows limitation. So only through education we can transform community or people like that. So education is extremely important. Then economy, also very important. Now this huge gap, rich and poor. Not only morally wrong, but practically also solves the problem. At Dharamsala, on small construction in my own area, I asked some of the laborers, they come from Kasa, Chhattisgarh, right? Chhattisgarh. They came. Some lady, very poor, and with their children. I think nobody want to live from their own village. But there's no proper way to earn. So they come so also very far and cold climate. So real transformation of India must take place in rural area, not just big cities in Delhi or Hyderabad or in Bombay or Calcutta, Bangalore. No. The rural area must sort of transform, modernize. So through that way, we can reduce this gap, rich and poor. Even big city, number of people or the streets of children, these people come from village area. Like Europeans, they are facing some problem because of just next to other continent, Northern Africa or Africa, is an economic condition very poor. So a lot of sort of immigrate and create trouble. So these big cities also, a lot of sort of poor, jobless people come from rural area, and population increasing, and hygiene also is a problem. Like that. So I think India, we really need, in order to happy that happiness through worship, pray to God, never materialize. About 2-3 years ago, one time in Patna, the present chief minister, I know him quite well. So he invited, this is one sort of ceremony, opening ceremony, one Buddhist Vihara in Patna. So at the function, he mentioned, due to Buddha's blessing, the Bihar state rapidly more prosper. He mentioned. Then my turn talk, and of course I know the chief minister quite well. So I told him, if your state rapid sort of prosperity through Buddha's blessing, then your state much earlier must develop, because the last 2,500 years Buddha's blessing always there. So the Buddha's blessing must go through able chief minister's hand, I told him. So that's a fact. So the happy society, I think I think 1,000 years, Indians always pray, but fail. Buddha, from the Buddhist viewpoint, Buddha say, Buddha mentioned, my sort of responsibility is to show the guide. And the real things are in your own effort. It entirely depends on your own effort. Buddha said that. So Buddha say, you are your own master. So our future, India's future, entirely depends on Indian people. So here, now, education, I think, a key factor. Then development in rural area, again through education, including technology, knowledge, technology, modernize farm sort of system, and then health. Then gradually, I think, the kasatiki issues, what we call national happiness, then will come. So the Bhutanese, you see, they wonderful as a Buddhist sort of nation, very wonderful. But we have to see, we have to see, wait to see. After 10 years, 20 years, we have to see. Unless you see these actual sort of thing develop properly, it's not easy to achieve that. That's my view. Thank you. History and the cultural aspect and the philosophical aspect, this country, I think, most advanced sort of country or area. So 1,000-year-old India's the concept of ahimsa and religious harmony. Now, when we look different part of the world, a lot of violence, a lot of injustice, and many areas, you see, do not take sort of serious concern about others' life. Then, and also, you see, the conflict in the name of religion. When we saw these things, then India's 1,000-year-old tradition of non-violence. Non-violence means respect others' sort of right, respect others' life. From that, non-violence idea comes, not harming others, because you must respect. They also same like us. So the ahimsa, 1,000-year-old India's tradition ahimsa, is very much relevant to today's world. Then other field, religious harmony. Again, with different sort of religious tradition, sometimes fighting, killing. Even these days, now it happens. Now in India, of course, some pockets here and there, some problem due to religious sort of differences. That's understandable. Over a billion population, some mischievous people, that's always happened. But overall, India, 1,000 years, I think more than 2,000, 3,000 years, they decide homegrown religions. That's, I think, earliest sort of Indian sort of religion, Sangha philosophy, Sangha sort of tradition. And then from that, different sort of the non-Buddhist tradition. Whenever I talk, I always talk completely informal. And I think complete informality is very fit my broken English. So this is much better. So at the beginning, when I present, you see, some souvenir or gift, some mistake. I enjoy that. You see, too much formality. Even, you see, the difficult to breathing. That kind of sort of formality I don't like. We are human beings, same human being. Mentally, emotionally, physically. And wherever I go, I always feel like that. Yeah, same human being. Making differences. Consider some people are some important, some are not important. That's just our own mental creation. Basically, we are same. If we talk, or the contract on basics of the same basic level as a human being, then there's hardly no cause for problem, for trouble. Respect each other, showing each other as a human brothers, sisters. Their suffering is our suffering. Their happiness, our happiness. That's the reality. So, in any way, now I'm very, very happy. Great honor is to come to this important sort of conference. And also, me personally, now I think 52 years, almost 52 years, live in Dharamsala. So this is part of my own sort of area. So I'm great honor. And then also, last 53 years, or 52 years, 51, 1 year in Mussoorie. Then 96, very good, but heart not that warm. So therefore, his or her medicine may not be much effective. That those people, those doctors or physicians, may not be very high, top quality, but very warm-hearted sort of person. So their medicine is more effective. So your profession, right, very important. At the same time, genuine sense of concern of patients' well-being. Right. It's extremely important. My own experience, when I sort of get some sort of medical sort of treatment in hospital, and when the doctor shows human feeling, some smiles, some real sort of warm feeling, then I, as a patient, feel very happy. He or she must take fully, must take full care. If doctor or nurses come and go without smile, treated you almost like machine. Then sometimes patient may feel, I also sometimes feel, oh, that person may carry some experiment on me. I think even curing illness, I think the patient's spirit is very important. High spirit, full of hope, trust to physicians or nurses. Even recovery, I think much, much faster. So human mind is a very, very important sort of element. So that I want to tell you. Then, of course, India. Most populated democratic country with a long history, this country, 4,000-5,000 year old sort of history on, I live at Dharamsala. So, 5 decades, 5 decades. There are a lot of development in this area. When I came first time, Dharamsala, Meghalaya, I think only 2 shops. One Neroji, another Kasaka, I mean, Shingibe, Ka, Buddharam. Now a lot of sort of, also the restaurants, a lot of sort of hotels also now coming. And the important is the education sort of the center. And here, particularly the medical. It is very important. Everybody concerned about their health. If health, some problem, and even mental function also may not carry properly. So physical health is very, very important. So your sort of job, your duty, taking care about health. So really very important, not only just a very important sort of work, but also I think a great sort of way to serve other people. The medical sort of service with warm-heartedness, with sense of sort of responsibility, sense of concern. Then your profession, your work, also one of the best spiritual sort of practice, helping others. Cure their sort of their problems, their pains. And some cases, almost give them new life. So wonderful work. So in Tibet, we usually say some doctor, a physician, or such physician. Knowledge is concerned, ancient time, then Buddhism, then Jainism, then later, of course, Sikhism. I think very clear, the Sikhism itself, very much non-sectarian sort of principle. The Guru Nanak himself, was the pilgrimage way, made pilgrimage to Mecca. So that's the India's culture. Respect all religious tradition. But because of that, they eventually, Zoroastrianism came, settled this country. Now these days, the Parsi community, very small. In Bombay, very small, less than 100,000. But no fear. Very happily sort of live there. And then all these, then of course Christianity, Islam, Judaism, all these different religions from outside India eventually come here. So India's, the tradition of religious harmony is really a wonderful thing. It's very relevant to today's world. Now you, Indian brothers, sisters, you should feel proud. So you have very long history, very rich cultural heritage. And then, in modern time, India, since 47, India became independence. Democracy in this country, deeply rooted, in spite of some sort of problems. The basic sort of democratic system, very, very stable. During emergency, during Indira Gandhi, some people visited, at that time visited a little sort of anxiety. But after election, and transfer, because they changed the government very smoothly.